welcome to Chapter 89 of the DC Alliance podcast. With me, as always, is Fanboy Clay. Clay, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. I kind of had a crazy week last week. This week is starting to be a little bit more hectic. Just told you some stuff about school, and it's not looking great for me. But hanging in there, and glad to be here talking about some Superman and Lois, man.
Yeah, we have some interesting things to talk about, probably towards the latter part of the episode.
For
We have
sure.
we have an interview and stuff courtesy of our friend from Marvel Alliance, Chris Belga. I, Clay, was working on my managerial assignment right up until the wire here, but I finished it like 4 minutes before we were scheduled to go live. But with our banter and talking and me making the Streamlab posts a couple times, it took us a few more minutes, listeners. That's on me. But I'm going to get the network plugs out of the way. I told Clay I was going to be quick and efficient this time instead of my normal drag it on, talk about every episode, woohoo kind of deal. So, talk about every show, sorry. But we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance with 7 podcasts in total. On Mondays is World's Finest True Believers with Chris Belga. That's where Chris and a guest take a look at a comic of guest choice. That rotates bi-weekly with Ranger Alliance with Clay and rotating guest hosts of Jake, Tony, and Joe. They look at everything and anything Power Rangers. On Tuesdays is DC Alliance with myself and Clay. We're gearing up for the Batman, super excited about that, and also had the Peacemaker on deck. On Wednesdays is Superhero Discussions, where we're looking at Spectacular Spider-Man right now. On Thursdays is Star Wars Alliance with Clay and Katie. That's where they look at everything and anything Star Wars. They're focusing on the Book of Boba Fett right now, so check them out. On Fridays is Marvel Alliance with Chris and Brent, where they look at anything and everything Marvel. They have a little bit of time with no content right now, so ha 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 ha. Just kidding, of course. And Saturdays is Walk Through the Multiverse with Joe. That's where he looks at everything that isn't Marvel, DC, or Star Wars. That's bi-weekly on Saturdays. And on hiatus right now is Slice of Film. That's where Katie and a guest take a look at either a movie of the guest choice or a popular movie out in theaters right now. That will be back sooner rather than later, but you can catch Katie on Star Wars Alliance still. DC Alliance, Marvel Alliance, and Star Wars Alliance all have their own podcast feeds. Search Marvel Alliance, DC Alliance, or Star Wars Alliance just to get Marvel content, DC content, or Star Wars content. But if you want all those shows and everything else, stay subscribed to the Geek Ultimate Alliance on your podcast app of choice. DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel at 9 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. Star Wars Alliance goes live at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. And Marvel Alliance goes live at 9:10 p.m. on Thursdays. We also have a Patreon, 2 tiers, a $1 tier and a $5 tier. The $1 tier is basically your tip jar. You like what we're doing, you want to help us out. And the $5 tier is where you get you extras, your ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes. Whew, time.
All right, that was pretty clean. 3 minutes. I think you did it pretty good.
Don't ask me to ever do that again. I blacked out. It was like Will Ferrell in Old School when he answers the question. What was that? I just blacked out.
But we do have an episode of Superman and Lois, season 2, episode 2, to talk about here. So where do you want to start? We overall, again, we're always going to say this. I still think that the most CW stuff I could do without because I don't care about the lovey-dovey relationships and all of that stuff. I think it's kind of boring. Um, I loved the first season more when it came to Jordan because he was coming to know what his powers were. Now that he knows what his powers are, they have really just like, okay, now he's just a normal kid with superpowers. Like I still want more from him. Uh, but we are getting him and Sarah's relationship. It's still a little rocky because of summer camp. Um,
This one time in band camp.
basically is what happened in this episode, man.
Kind of knew it.
Oh,
I had it hit me.
I think it was you that called it here on the actual show. But when I was watching, I was like, oh, something happened at camp in the sense of she kissed somebody else, and that is totally what happened. And she, confessed earlier or later on in this episode. She confessed, said, "Hey, I kissed this girl." And he was like, "What? So do you want to date her instead?" Like he was getting all in his emotions and everything else. Uh, I mean, dude, at least she told you, man.
In his, I will say, first of all, he was going down the path of Breakup City and getting Dump City and had no idea. So that was a little sad. But and in his defense, he did do a lot. He didn't do much except was excited to see his girlfriend when she got back from camp. She probably should have told him a little earlier. I will agree. He got super in his feelings. I posed a question to you: if he feels like he's going to lose her for sure, does he throw out the "Hey,
Hey,
I have superpowers, Bob"? Like,
that's so
is it an
fucked,
option?
dude.
Is it an
It's
option?
so fucked to even consider it. Be
Is it
like,
an option?
hey, you know,
Teen-
you can't break up with me now that now that you know that I'm Superman's
Well,
son.
it just goes for me. I know they probably won't do it on the show, but in actual reality, teenagers are fucked, especially their decision making. Like they don't make the
Yes.
best decisions, especially in a split moment. And I can see him if this was real life and he was losing her and being like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna lose her! Oh my god, I'm gonna lose. She's the best thing ever happened to me." I could see him tell. Look at her. Look at his dad. He's not afraid to tell a secret to people that he loves.
Yeah.
Like I just especially with Jordan seeing, he's not seeing the potential backlash or anything that could come from telling your secret to somebody that you love. All he sees is his dad told his mom the secret, and look at them. So I really I know, like you said, it's definitely not the way it will go. It is the like stupid thing to think about him doing, but in reality, teenagers do stupid things all the time, and I could see him, if we were talking real life, him definitely doing that if he's going to lose her.
Yeah,
Hail Mary.
I do think that she will eventually find out. I honestly do. Um Now there's that plot point that's there.
Well, that's
I
essentially we just put the pin, and that's where that is right now at the
Yeah.
end of this
I
episode.
mean, you also along with that you get the story of Natalie.
Yeah, well, that we
Um
can look into when we just talk about her, because
yeah.
I do think that she had some merits that not exactly pinned to her and Jordan and Sarah.
Yeah. But we open up this episode with Lois kind of scurrying about downstairs, making a big breakfast because she wants to impress, of course, John and Natalie. Um, and it's very awkward to be in the position that Lois is in with Natalie and John's life being what they are. But she's still wanting them to feel like they're at home. Unfortunately, making all this big giant dinner, Natalie comes down and is just like, "Oh, by the way, I'm vegan, so I'm out."
I
And
have a
then she
question
just,
for you. Growing up and how you're raised, I know this is how I was raised when we were brought together. I didn't really have the option of saying no, I don't want this, whatever they made when we were
"Oh no,
visiting.
no!" Like it's either, "Hey, you eat this or you starve."
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
that is that is the way I grew up.
yeah.
There
Especially
is
like when you're living on a farm. I'm just like,
like
but I know
living
she's not from a farm, so I got you let it slide. I'm just saying, when I grew up, if I said that, I would have been smacked upside the head. But it's nice to see things have changed too. Like to
yeah,
think
no,
people are
living
a
out
bit
in the
mellow.
country the way that I used to, at my grandparents' house, it was, and I will tell you this, as a kid, the first words out of my mouth every single morning was, "Grandpa, I'm hungry." Those were the first three words out of my mouth for at least 11 years. So I was always hungry in the morning. I always ate whatever, but like never did I ever have the audacity to be like, "Nah, I'm good." Like that just meant, "Oh, you're not eating." Like it's not like, "Oh, I can eat later," or, "Oh, we can make something different for you." It's, "Hey, we spent the time to make this food and you're going to eat it
But
or you're going to go to bed."
Like John says here, it was more the gesture that was a good thing, and I
Yes.
like the fact. I want to talk about that because we'll jump around a little bit before we get into our ad break, and then our like end of episode discussion is really the meat and potatoes here. If you want my opinion, I like the fact that they work together and we're trying to figure out what was causing the earthquakes and after
Yes.
she got stonewalled. I'm really enjoying the Lois side of things from the first two episodes because the problems she had were very real and relatable to me in the first episode. And in this episode, we get the journalistic side where she's getting
It does look like
stonewalled.
this season we are leaning a little bit more towards Lois. Last season it was very heavily Superman and his backstory and his lineage and all of this stuff. we're getting a lot of Lois these past 2 episodes. Now it's only 2 episodes,
Yeah,
but we're getting a lot of it, and I don't mind.
I
I
like
don't
that.
mind getting that at all. The investigative reporting type stuff, I think that they got it right in the sense of how they are telling these stories, and it's fun. So I can appreciate that she's trying to uncover the secrets of, why I can't remember the company that is helping dig and destroy the mines, but she's looking at why they're there and why they are mining X kryptonite. So it's very interesting for a plot story for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know. I love the fact that it's not only that she's having trouble with an article she published in the past of a cult leader. You know what it sounded like a little bit.
Oh, I know
Uh,
exactly what it sounded like. Yeah,
an alumni of Smallville.
the name itself, I was like, oh, that is really close.
I
Like,
don't mind that, to be honest with you, Clay. Especially how they put it in her world of and setting us up to see Lucy. We have had rumors that she is going to appear the same character that played Lucy in Supergirl,
yeah,
but her attitudes she's going to be different. She said because of Crisis, and this makes sense here now, where she was in this trouble. The Lucy we saw in Supergirl would not have faced this cult type thing. She was
exactly. Yeah,
more like a trained, you know what I mean, like from in
she
her
was a go
father's
getter.
image.
She was, very heavily uh, military based and
Yeah.
everything else. So this is going to be a different type of Lucy for sure.
But Lois is
Um,
having trouble too because people
all
are
of those
poking
stories are
holes.
connected
Yeah,
to her. Yeah, and it's
and
it's poking holes in her story, and
her
it's looking
sources, and they're
very
coming at
bad.
yeah, and they're
Yeah,
coming at the paper too. Yeah,
yeah.
which is it's tough. Like you said, it's really bad, and I love that because I like the girl who's running. I'm blanking. I think her name is Christy.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is about that actress, but I do enjoy her. Like, she just steals scenes that I think are going to be boring when they're talking about them, but somehow it's like she has the right. She always has the right tone. She always has the right.
Well,
She's
I
not
think
always
that's the whole
chipper.
point of her character.
Yeah,
Her whole point of her character in the last season was, oh, I just live in this small town. I'm never gonna pick up the big stories. And then, like with a little coaching from Lois Lane herself, she was able to become a really good investigative reporter, and her paper is booming. Now, she has a little bit more rapport with Lois. She has a name to herself now, and because of that, she has to protect her brand. So if shit is coming out that Lois is not a great, investigative reporter, and she could be a little dirty when it comes to her sources and the way she works, she'll probably have to separate herself from that. And so she's getting ahead of the game and kind of, asking her head on. And I don't think she would have been that type of person at the beginning of season 1. But now that she's been through everything she has been with Lois, she knows, hey, I can stand up for myself in this aspect.
yeah, I agree, and she's come a long way. And it's nice to see because, like you said, she didn't have not only the confidence, uh, but the belief that she can make a difference. And after seeing what she did at the end of season 1, I can understand, especially her wanting to like get a story and make sure the paper's credibility because the paper hasn't been higher than it is right now in terms of popularity, credibility, all that. So if you have a reporter on your staff and someone that owns 50-50 of the company with you, like that'll be trouble. You know that yourself. And I love how they're going with that. We'll get to see Lucy. Hopefully, she doesn't know if Lucy will back up her story because she hasn't spoken to her since she interviewed Lucy and had it all out there. So I can't wait to see that. So that's another, like we said, with the Jordan and Sarah. That's a pin. That's where that storyline is right now with Lois and the paper and this cult like being that cult like person that we'll get to see down the line, right, Clay? At some point,
Yeah.
we
Yeah, for
haven't
sure.
seen him yet, right, in season 1 or anything like that. He's someone from Lois's past.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You want to take our only ad break of the evening before we?
Yes, let's go
Yeah.
ahead and take our ad break, and then we will talk about something is going on with Superman.
Yeah.
So we will be right back. And we are back. So it is revealed to the rest of the Kent family via the beginning of this episode that Superman is having visions.
Yes.
And Lois is all like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And he's like, "Well, you had other things to attend to, and all of that."
You're too
S-
busy
You
giving
know,
me the business all the time.
basically. And his, well, not really best idea. He, is kind of just treating it as it is, and so he first he goes to his brother from season one, and he's like, "Hey, this is happening to me. Is this happening to you?" And he's like, "No, it's not happening to me," because he thought, "Oh, well, it may be residual memories from the people from Krypton that were possessing them from season one." And so this kind of got Lois, kind of concerned because there was plenty of other Smallville civilians that had been, you know, controlled by Kryptonian souls.
Yeah.
So, that could mean some really bad, shit could probably go down. So they wanted to clear everything out. Well, uh, Tal, is that his name?
Yeah.
So Tal Rowe, I think
Tell
is
Row.
his
Yeah.
is his name. Tal said, "No, that's not happening to me. Is it happening to your son? No, it's not happening to anybody else. There's clearly just something wrong with you. Hey, I got an idea. Take me to my fortress, and we will get everything squared away." And Superman's like, "Well, I'm not an idiot, so I'm not gonna do this." And he's like, "Well, then you're fucked, and you're not gonna figure any of this out." This leads us. Oh, well, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I have a question I'm curious about. You're more of a comic guy than I am. That crystal that he uses to bring his mom into the Fortress of Desert,
Yes.
could he take that crystal and throw it kind of like the crystal he had to create his first Fortress of Solitude? Like, I'm thinking he could just take that crystal and then his mother could be the person operating the new Fortress of
No, he
Solitude.
can't
No? Okay.
because of the way that they perceived it here in this reiteration of Superman. Each person has their own crystal.
Okay.
So the crystal that Clark had called him to the North Pole to create the Fortress of Solitude as we know it. And then we saw the flashbacks from Talrot's childhood, and it showed that he was called to the desert to toss his crystal.
It feels like a
So
Mario game where like you have a castle up here in the in the in the winter, and you have the castle in the desert.
basically is that's exactly what it is. But before we even get to the fortress, Superman actually tries to save some people from a shootout, from this person trying to kidnap people on, like, I guess it's a rich family at a private airport, whatever. um, During the save attempt, this is where he has another vision. He is, struggling, and he gets beat up by this individual because they have a respirator that has, basically grinded down XK to breathe. And so then, of course, the person probably temporarily
Yeah,
gets powers, and fights Superman. He loses, but we see the Supermen
the S
from last.
Brigade.
Yes, basically. There's no like official. Well, it's the I forgot what he called it. General Anderson, gave a specific title to their group name,
The a holes.
and I think it's like, oh well, if you don't want to be a part of, and it's like, I can't remember what it is.
Operation Badass.
It's RS something as the
Yeah,
acronym for it. Um, but it's the same group of individuals plus one more, and the plus one is actually very familiar because it is the kid that was that used to be on the football team of Smallville. It was the
yeah.
kid that attacked Jordan and Clark in the first season. His hands were kind of getting all shaky. It reminded me of what's his name from Smallville. Uh,
I know who you're talking about. It's not the Flash either. It was this character, this freak of the week guy that was shaking all the times. That,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. It gave me those vibes on season one.
Tremors, I think the episode was called. If I'm
Yes, yes, that's exactly what it was called. But uh, this kid uh, ends up talking to Clark. He's like, "Hey, you good? Are you okay?" And next thing you know, Clark wakes up in this, med
Infirmary.
bay
Well,
infirmary.
that was there before that Sam Lane had set up, and there's Krypton, well, doctors that specialize in Kryptonian
Yeah,
like Kryptonian people,
yeah,
and the Dick Sergeant that's in charge now mentions like, I don't even know why we have these people on staff anymore. And I'm just like, shut up, dude! Like, you could slap me right across the room. Like, you speak to him like he's a child.
yeah. Sorry, the dog is going a little crazy over here, so I apologize for that small silence. Excuse me, but yeah, he basically says like we are still going to be doing what we do, and if you're not going to be a part of the solution, you're going to be a part of the problem because you're starting to look a little bit more like a what does he call him? He says a liability. He says you're starting to look a little bit more like a liability than anything else with whatever is going on with you. So you better figure it out quick. And that's when Superman is like, "Hey, that kid that you brought in, he's barely over the age of 18." And he's like, "Yeah, isn't he quick?" And then he just walks away. I'm just like, "You motherfucker."
What a, but he's perfect for the role. I am
Yeah.
really enjoying him. And to people who say, like, to the crazy Snyder holic crazies, like, what do you say to the show? Because I'm pretty confident, Clay, if I do recall, that this was the theme in BVS about who he would save, who he wouldn't save, if he would put America first, the
Yeah.
world. That was a point. That was a thing that we talked about as well. Like, if this in real world, Superman comes down, and if he did save North Korean sub, do you think? Well, I wonder what the headlines on Fox News would be.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, so this is actual, and I know it's not interesting as Superman punching something up into space and laser beaming it and then freeze breathing it, but I do find this stuff interesting too, just because I'm curious how other people would react to him.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy this, and there would be dick people trying to control and make sure he does. We've seen it in so many different Superman comics. So I really like this part in this guy because it's such a stark contrast. You look back now at what Sam Lane was asking him for, and you're like, okay, like, I don't know if he should have been so abrupt and like short sometimes with General Lane, considering what he got afterwards. He should have. The grass isn't always greener, kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and that's basically the main plots for the beginning of this episode. Throughout the episode, we still get stories from John.
One other thing, John, Henry and Lois figure out that every time there's a tremor, Clark has one of those visions. So
Yeah.
it all gets tied together,
Well,
and
and
that
that is
bravo to them for the way they wove all those two storylines together.
yeah, and they were able to figure that out is because once they did go to the fortress of Talro, um, his mother, Laura, was able to say, "Oh, well, it's not something; it's someone that is causing these things. Exactly who we don't know."
I was speaking
Um,
with Chris about this, and he said the same thing. She couldn't have been more vague. Like,
yeah,
I don't even remember the exact. I know the word had multiversal in it, but she said this long 3 word thing that I can't remember now because I watched the episode earlier this morning. But I can remember hearing those words to whatever she described the event being, and I could think to myself like that is a word jumble. So
yeah.
yeah, I hopefully she explains more next episode.
Yeah, I want to get a better explanation of this. Now, I do think that because of the amount of influence that this show does have with um, Man of Steel, let's be completely honest, um, I think they may be, and specifically, Laura was even saying children are engineered. They're not uh, produced in the same
Yeah,
way that all children are. They were engineered.
except Clark.
Exactly, except for
Yeah.
Clark. Uh, if that's the case, do you think there may be a codex of some kind in this universe of Superman, just like there was in Man of Steel? Because if that's the case, there could be some sort of connection to the big thing we're going to talk about at the end of this episode.
There very well could be, Clay. I've thought about that as well. But it opens up the door for it just because of what we got, like she said, what she said,
Yeah,
where it's how it was on Krypton and told Jordan. And I enjoyed all that scene. I love how Clark's brother was playing coy and actually
yeah,
did get his powers back
and
and
he
had
did get his powers back.
Hey,
Yeah.
like this is what I like too, because that was a problem I had with shows on the CW before, like when you have ancillary heroes coming in and they're perfect right away, or they know everything right away, or they train 3 weeks with the worst version of Wildcat of all time, and then they're out stopping crimes and going
Hmm.
around fighting, and then you're like, oh no, how did this person die? I mean, how? She has like 6 weeks of training. How did she die? So, and you cause a big uproar about that when I'm just like, that kind of makes sense. Not gonna lie, she's been out here for 8 weeks. Like, what are you expecting here? But and here, Jordan, no, Jordan don't get the best one. Jordan gets a couple good shots because he has been improving. But like you said way back in the episode, I want to see more with Jordan with his powers. I'd like to see him train a little bit or try to get better at it.
Yeah.
Maybe this Sarah issues, maybe this will push him to do that,
Hmm.
and I hope so. But I did like the back and forth, and when Superman finally snapped out of it, he was pummeling him like it reminded me of Justice League Apocalypse War when he was punching Darkseid, and he just like smacked like
No,
that.
it reminded me of Man of Steel. You
When he
think
took
you could
you could
threaten my
threaten my
mother?
mother, same
Boom,
thing.
boom,
That was the
boom.
same kind of
It
vibes
was
I
it
got from
was
that
it was
too.
basically the exact same thing, and I
Yeah,
loved it.
and she stopped him, which was great little touch too.
Yeah,
She was great in all her scenes, I must say.
yeah, yeah. I don't recognize the actress for some reason. I feel like
I'm
probably if I
glad
saw
though.
her
I'm
name,
glad.
I would
I'm
probably
glad.
recognize her. But she did it very very well. The other plot point was, of course, Natalie still trying to fit in with everybody. She does seem to get along well with Sarah. She is a little bit of a gearhead. I think there's going to be a love triangle
Yes, I was just about to ask you about
between
that.
Natalie, Sarah, and
Jordan.
Jordan. I think it's going to happen. Uh, we also see, and I saw this a mile away, but Lana is running for mayor.
Yeah.
Definitely saw that coming. And now, just to finish this episode off, I was not going to talk about this in the main show. I thought it could be a in credit type of conversation, but
But the
you
executive producers have no
you
have.
you and Chris talked me out of keeping it in credits. Um,
I would only because it came directly from the executive producer. If this was a rumor or a like, the executive producer
yeah,
straight up
the
said
the
it. That's
producer
why.
did spoil this. So if
Yeah.
you don't want to be spoiled, if you are still kind of vague on what this whole 2 episodes have been about,
Who's causing the earthquakes? If you don't want to know that yet, if you want that still to be a mystery, like Clay says, you end the show now. Thank you for
yeah,
listening. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 203. But if you want to, this is the three, two, one,
one.
boom.
Executive producers have now confirmed that
Just one,
the
because I don't want to sell any down the river, because not too many executive producers just openly say this. But Todd Helbig
okay, yeah,
is the one that confirmed that.
Todd has confirmed that the entity at the at the end of this episode is in fact Doomsday.
You want me to read the quote, Clay, while you're still trying to come to terms with it a little
Yeah,
bit?
go ahead and read it.
He says, that is our homage to a classic Doomsday cover. He's talking about the end of the first episode. The executive producer revealed. Then in episode 2, which I'm shocked that he said this, especially with this show. What are you doing? Then in episode 2, you're going to see him a little bit more. Then in episode 3, you get the full reveal. So they're telling us we're going to see Doomsday. And he said, there's so much lore and mythology in Superman universe. I can't believe you said that, and then you're going to pick Doomsday. That we feel it's our obligation to tell a unique story. We take inspirations from the comics as much as possible, and then we try to twist it. We did the same thing here.
So here's the problem
Sorry
that I
about
have
the
with
laughing
this.
listeners.
We had this entire conversation with the first episode because we
Yeah.
were debating on whether this could be Doomsday or not. And in fact, it is. For one, it is way too soon. I do not have any connection to any of these characters other than Superman. I can tell you that now. Yes, I enjoyed John and Jordan in the first season, but if they die tomorrow, I don't care. Like, that is just how I feel about them. Now, Superman, Yes, I care about the character of Superman. Tyler character of Superman, I've only gotten one season. If this season gets canceled, I'm gonna be like, "What are y'all doing? Y'all are stupid." But I'm not gonna bat an eye because it's only been one season. You know, if it was 9 seasons down the line and it was looking very promising for a 10th season finale, and then they're like, we're just gonna end it here. That's me being like, "Holy shit, what's wrong? Like, what's going on?" Like, that's when I would be outraged. This showing Doomsday in season 2, this is the epitome of jumping the shark. This is saying, hey, we don't know what to do, so we're going to throw the biggest bad Superman has in the second season. Why?
I, like you, do think there are other villains that you could go with that probably would have been fun. But the things that if I'm trying to think why they would do this, is to maybe elevate the other two sons while Superman's gone. If you have it played exactly like the comics, I don't know. We joked
That,
before. I hope it's not. I hope it's not. I hope it leans more towards Krypton than it leans towards Smallville in terms of a black trash bag and
well,
rocks
that
taped on.
leads me to the question that Chris left us for today's conversation regarding Doomsday. He says, "Does the CW have the courage to go a full season 3 without Tyler until the very end?" So, if you go the entire story, so for one, I will tell you this: I do not think this season ends with the death of Clark, the death of Superman. I think the death of Superman happens mid-season, if not like by the end of episode 5. Because like I don't this what's the how many episodes is this season?
15, 16.
15, 16. So you have 8 episodes to really cause an uproar with Doomsday. Because if you prolong it for this entire season, like, I'm sorry, you cannot say, "Oh, Doomsday's out there and we just don't
No,
know
that's.
where." He
I
is a
agree with you,
giant
Clay.
monster.
I agree with you because he is not like Lex Luthor or Zod. Any of those you could understand. Okay, he's somewhere biding his time, planning.
Yeah,
Doomsday doesn't plan. Doomsday just destroys.
Yes, Doomsday's programming is, hey, destroy everything in sight
Well, and I will
until
say
it
to
becomes
you,
planet side.
if he shows up on the third episode and we actually see him, unless there's a way that that woman who's on the phone has the ability to not even neutralize him, but like subdue him and contain him.
Well,
I don't
and
know if they do because we don't know who she's coming from. Like what? Because she's on the phone saying like we expected something. We didn't expect something this powerful.
yeah.
So we have to see her how they factor in before we because we don't know where Clark's mom said multiversal. We don't know. We've seen in Crisis Doomsday kill Superman and the flag be there. We got the stupid little one thing on TV showing that,
Yeah.
but that was a thing. So I don't know. And with Lucy coming in, Lucy said Crisis affected her character from Supergirl. So I don't want to rule anything out, but you are right. It reeks of jumping the gun too quickly. I know people say like do everything you can because you might not get another season. That's not the case with these shows, especially a critically darling praise show like Superman and Lois. I don't think you need to. So they may have a specific thing because one other quote stuck out to me. He said Doomsday was specifically created to kill the man of tomorrow, nothing more than a mindless killing machine. And Superman and Lois, however, will have a few extra character dimensions. I think one of the things that we really all dig about the comic book world, but particularly with the villains, is finding ways to use assumptions about the character, then flipping that, and finding ways to explain things that haven't been explained in the
If
comics.
he's as intelligent as Lex Luthor and is
Look,
playing
this is
chess with
something
Superman,
or
I
why
don't
a
want it.
character. No, God, no character does a certain thing. It'll all be revealed in episode 3, but there are a couple little things that we're doing that I can't explain too much because I'll give it away. But you'll see how we're influenced by certain pieces and why we use it to create work that is hopefully a cool reveal. So I'm not
The
I'm not
only like
super
the
excited
only
for
way
that.
to flip the lid on who Doomsday is to make him a super intelligent, viable character that is going to ploy and be methodical and essentially a Lex Luthor character, but the size of Doomsday. I don't want that. Like I don't
I
like
know, especially when you're it's like you're
you're gonna give me smart. You're gonna give me Professor Hulk, Doomsday style.
it's like you're using Doomsday's name to bring in people in a false advertising type way to
Yeah,
just get them into the door and hope that they will like the
and
switch you
in
did on it.
and in that case, you are wasting the character.
Oh, I agree, but like I said, they may have a plan. I don't want to because the first season was so good. I don't want to 100% assume, but I am very, very hesitant going in to the episode 3 because we got to see what they're going to attack me here. Because he said the big reveal. If it's just if it's just showing him at the end of the third episode, I'm going to be like, okay, well that was stupid. If you're talking about him being completely different, but if we get a different backstory completely.
I'm looking at the
Um,
scene now. When the miners get in contact with him, he has like four little lights, two on his arms and two in his like chest abdomen area. Um, I don't know what that is, to be
Iron
honest.
Doomsday?
But if you look closely,
Clay, I'm not dignified that with a response.
no, I'm not going to dignify that with a response. If you look closely at the figure on screen, if you are watching it, you can see that he has a collar. This is a little bit reminiscent of the original green containment suit. He has like a big jumpsuit type thing. And so I can see it kind of like covering his face and everything. So I'm sure there is a way to make him look cool, but I don't want to just be like, "Oh, he looks cool." I need this story to make sense. If
Yes.
like and again, I'm afraid that they're going to make him Professor Hulk. Like that's what
Oh,
they're
I
going to do.
agree. I agree. What that quote that I just read made me. I saw your face while I was reading it, and I was just like, "Yeah, this is definitely the first time Clay is hearing this, and it's definitely the first time I'm reading this because I stopped after that paragraph." I'm worried, but the show has earned something from me. But do you want to squander what all you have earned?
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
that's what I'm worried. We're not giving up the show or anything, guys. Like not nothing like that. It's just we're a little hesitant because all the criticisms they had for BVS was you're bringing in Doomsday too early and killing off Superman, so, and they also think this is DCCW where they say they're going to do this big fantastical storyline like Flashpoint, like Supergirl versus the Elite, and then you get one episode and it's over.
Yeah.
So you might have some repercussions, like Diggle has a daughter instead of a son, or a son instead of a daughter, kind of deal. Don't have too many lasting repercussions out throughout the entire multiverse there, DCCW. But I think that I'm super interested in how they're going to do it, but I'm also super fearful, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah.
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 No, that's it, Clay. No, that's wasn't too bad of an episode, but I don't know what a exact. Why don't you just let people watch the third episode? Just shut your mouth, please.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think he's
not
the same
entirely sure
one.
why they decided to be like, "Hey, at the end of episode 1, we're just going to go ahead and tell you what the entire plot of this season's going to be."
Hey, a potential thing that could generate some buzz and have people talking amongst themselves on social media before our third episode finishes airing. Let's squash that right now. We don't need no speculation on that. We don't want anybody being like, "Who? Oh, let me look. I think it's Doomsday, but maybe it could be this character instead or this character." But no, none of that now. So you don't need to waste your time.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. So that is it for tonight's episode. We will, of course, be back on a regular show on Monday, and of course, next Wednesday, doing this all over again to see the very scary looking Doomsday, probably. Um, but with that, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for listening to these episodes. We're looking forward to, at this time, At this time tomorrow, I probably have already seen the fourth episode of Peacemaker, and still working on homework. That is terrifying to me. But of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. You can find the show at DC Alliance GUA, and of course, Travis is at Travis_156. And with that, thank you so much, and we will see you guys on Monday.
Later, everyone.